Hello, Prenny here with another video. This is continuing my series of talking about recent characters who received a rank 13 skill. This is the first one. I'm going to go over a character that I don't actually have, Acambe. He's a character that I wanted to get as when he came out. I tried pulling a bit for him, and then I realized I reached the point that if I kept pulling for him and got him, then I couldn't guarantee getting Coco, and I felt that Coco was a little bit more important. And I think it was ultimately the right decision, but I was hoping that I would get him off an off banner, and I haven't gotten him yet. So is this new Ascension skill going to make me kicking myself for not going into it? Well, probably not, because I don't know if I said it yet, but I did have to go to hard pity for Coco, and of course, maybe if I got him, I wouldn't have to go to hard pity for Coco, but still, I've gotten a lot of use of Coco, out of Coco, and she also has a rank 13 skill that improves her, that came out earlier, so she's not part of this series, but maybe when I'm done speculating, maybe I'll go back and go over some of the other rank 13 skills if you guys like these sort of videos. So what's Acambe's deal? Well, Acambe is there are a couple characters that are able to summon units, and Acambe is probably the one that encapsulates that niche the most. Like, even if with other characters, even if you're technically able to summon an additional unit, the game will say, oh well, you can't summon that unit because you already got too many on the field. Well, him and Safi aren't like this because their summons are temporary. With Safi, actually, her summons can actually last a little bit longer if they get hit with passive block, because their self-explosion is a passive on their kit, but there's no way really for you to inflict that on your allies, and they generally can't stick around long enough. I don't know if Acambe is in a similar situation. I don't think so. But he's able to summon more than Safi, because Safi needs energy recovery to summon Hangman units one after the other, whereas Acambe needs energy too, but he can get up to 9 energy depending on his stars, stock them up, and he can summon them as instants. Well, one of his skills does so, and another one can summon 3, but it's not an instant, so you are able to summon 2, then use that skill, and then if you have an extra turn, then you can even tell them all to attack on the same turn, and then you'll have 5, and you'll also be out of energy, so even if you did have the energy, maybe combining Tyr and Credenza, his Summon 3 skill has like a 5 cooldown, but it is pretty powerful because it's like the largest knockback skill in the game. Even in CN, I don't think anyone has a bigger one. I believe it's part of this. Under heavy reward, I think. Oh. Like I said, I don't have the character, so if I want to look up the skills to refresh myself, I have to go into this Chinese wiki and do the auto translation. I'm sure there's English sites that have Acambe, but they usually don't have direct 13 ascension skills, so this is actually the other one. Restore 1 energy to allies within range of 3 squares and reduce the cooldown by 1 round and give buffs. One thing I'm not sure of, and that's the downside of talking about characters that I haven't used. I don't know if this works on Acambe. I'm thinking that it probably doesn't. Like he won't use it and give himself 1 energy and reduce his own cooldown. But I'm not sure. But it is one of the few ways to reduce cooldown. So if you combined Acambe with Coco, like Coco, if she has a happiness, she can use iron pots too, with 2 energy and 2 cooldown. And then if Acambe uses this skill, it'll reduce her cooldown by 1 and give her 1 energy, and then she'll be able to use it next turn. And of course, if you use the cooldown, if Acambe has happiness and he uses it, the skill, it would be reduced to 2, and if it worked on itself, it would be reduced to 1, which means that he would also be able to use it next turn. So, since I haven't heard many people talk about it, like this infinite engine of Acambe and Coco reducing their cooldown skills, reduction skills to have a bunch of units with 3 turns cooldown reduced to 1 turn. But maybe just people don't do that. Of course, you also would be able to pair it with a flag, and then you could reduce a 4 down a cooldown 4 skill to 1 skill to 1 turn. And he actually has a leader aura for discipline units, where it will also reduce a cooldown if the cooldown has I think 4 or 5 or more. So he could throw that in all of a sudden his 5 skill cooldown. Well, I'll have to double check, make sure it's 5 turn. But let's see. I think maybe this one. Yeah, with a cooldown of 4 turns or more, reduced by 1 turn. So, but only for discipline units. Plus, it also improves the damage of your summon units. So I had an idea to have a summoner team, have Acambe, Inanna, and maybe even Flavia, and then Coco as well, because Coco's happiness, his summons in theory could attack on their own. The problem is that they only have 1 energy, and their only attack skill requires 2 energy. Well, with happiness, Coco's happiness, they're actually able to use their skill on their own without needing Secret Whistle. And if you have a way to improve their movement, like say with recently Marcella has a move up 2, so if you had her and Coco both use the skill on the assassins, they'd be able to actually move around and attack people. And it's probably not too practical because they don't last very long, and Coco is a lot faster than Acambe, so the assassins would miss out on a turn of potential attacks unless you use some shenanigans like hit Coco with Flicker, or I don't even think hitting Acambe with Augustus Scroll would be enough to get him to outspeed Coco. So it's a really niche idea that I had that would be cool to pull off just for just to try it out and say that I did it, but I never got him, so I could never really mess around with that. Since I'm talking about, let's go over and check the other one. He will die for money. Oh yeah, this is a different, so it's not his ultimate. Splashing gold coins on a target grid, gathering enemies and shadow assassins within 3 grids and apply move 2, magic defense down 2, and block assist for 2 rounds. And I think this is probably one of the reasons why people don't talk about his other skill very much, because being able to pull a bunch of enemies into one small area and then hit them with an attack is like one of the things that when people use Acambe, they use them for the most. Like recently, I've seen in the latest Tower Adversity, pulling all those slimes, Perus, together so that you can just pound them with AoEs, which I wish I could have used, but again, I didn't have him. So he's like a character that you don't necessarily, not necessarily useful on every map, like, because a lot of maps, tough maps, they'll be immune to teleport the enemies and knockback, so this skill won't work on them other than the debuffs. It's still good for, if you wanted to try to surround an enemy with a bunch of assassins that are already summoned, because obviously if you summon them, you probably have enough control anyways and to put them where you want. See his other skills. Let's see what this one is. Okay, this is a cool reaction skill. Basically, it forces summon units to cover him, which includes other summon units. So, if you have one weakness of Flavia's Guardian, like cover buddy, plant buddies, is that they can only block for one ally. Well, if you have Acambe, he can use this skill to force the flyer to block for him, and it can take a lot more damage than his summons can, because his summons only have like 20% of his HP and defense. So, like, I think they might have resistance to AoE, so they don't easily get wiped out. Let me double check. So, that's his reaction. But here's the skill that costs 2 energy that he normally can't use. It might be part of his trait. So I thought they had some sort of ability to prevent them from just getting completely wiped out by an AoE, but I guess guess not, but and also them leaving is part of their trait, so the passive block won't work on them. Not that you can really control that, but who knows, maybe they'll come out with a character eventually that's like, oh, gives the buff but blocks your passives. Probably not. Okay, this is his ultimate. The last one I found. A big area effect that does decent damage. 90% is not great nowadays, even. I don't in CN. But the fact that it has a big area effect and summons and knocks back, like you can potentially knock off a cliff 5 enemies at once, and then you'll summon a wall of assassins. Afterwards he will have block energy recovery, but I believe he can just be cured of that. So cannot be dispelled. This translation might not be the greatest, because it says it can't be dispelled, but also says immune, so maybe it can't be immune. I don't know of any, don't know what category of debuff this is, but it kind of makes me think it can be immune. See, I can't really easily test this, and right now it's probably not worth me going to the research. So those are the important skills. He has other more generic skills. He does have one single target nuke that, Night Raven has, but if you're using Acambe, it's not going to be for this. This was a but I probably would have used it because this was a period when I was starting to realize how limited I was in terms of magic damage, and having this for certain fights might have been useful. Then again, I think maybe his summons do magic damage and probably more effective against that magician boss than trying to use this, but at least it's spammable. And then his new rank 13 is very useful, because one of the big issues with him, if you wanted to use him other than as a gimmick, is his assassins are very vulnerable to getting killed, and if they die, it increases the cooldown of his summon skill, which normally would have no cooldown. The only limitation is they can only use it twice a turn, so if none of your Shadow Assassins died, you could actually summon 2 Shadow Assassins that will last for 2 turns, so next turn you summon another 2, do his ultimate, and then have like 7 Shadow Assassins on the field at the same time, and then if you gain an extra action somehow, either by Inanna, do the whistle, and then do the Shadow Assassins attack times 7. He'll become part of the Element faction, and thus gain liberation as part of his set of traits when he gets the liberation skill. And unlike Hasna, he is able to build up liberation by himself a little bit easier. gains 2 liberation anytime one of the Shadow Assassins get attacked by an area effect or defeated. And he can gain up to, I think, 3 times around at the highest one. And then he also will restore an energy point. And then when he gets 7 liberation stack or 10 liberation stacks, and he has cooldown on his Shadow Assassin, it will clear that, like consuming the stacks, and then, I think that it's possible to get more cooldown, like if you use his ultimate and then summon 2, and then do the ultimate, you'll have 5. And so like 5 turn cooldown if they all die. So if you had 20 stacks, I'm not sure if it would consume all 20 to reduce it by 4. And if so, since it should go down by 1 by the end of the last turn, it might depend on when they actually die. So maybe you'll be able to, stacking up 20 liberation, which is the max, would be difficult without having Lucama, because even though you can gain up to 6, which even if there's no enemies nearby, you can just have the summons near each other when you trigger their killing blade. But with Whistle, it will they will hit each other and trigger it themselves. So, and you generally want to keep them together anyways, because that's how they're effective damage dealers, is to have a bunch of them hit a small group of enemies. Probably should go over his actual summon skill. So summons a Shadow Assassin at the target location. It inherits 85% of the Acambe's attack, and it gets boosted by 20% if he has the rank 13 skill and 10 stacks of liberation. And then you can see here that's where they get their defense and health reduced. Each time some of the assassin is defeated, they get cooldown increased by 1 turn. So I was correct with what I was stating earlier. I didn't make a mistake. I wanted to take a look at his secret whistle that only really shows up when he has some Shadow Assassins on the field. I'm pretty sure it has a cooldown, but I don't know off the top of my head how long the cooldown is. Oh, this is it. Cooldown 5. So that's a. If you want to spam it, you need to have a way to reduce his cooldown. So that's one of the other limitations. Of course, if you have his leader order equipped, it will be reduced to 4 immediately. And then of course you got credenza, he could reduce it by 2. Using happiness might be a little tricky because usually you want to summon assassins before you would use the skill. So you would use up the happiness on the summons. Like maybe if you already have a bunch of summons out there already, or if it's on cooldown, you still have summons alive, you could trigger it. So with the leader order and credenza, you can reduce it down to 3. It'll reduce down to 2 with like the battle flag. So, and then of course it will reduce by 1 next turn. So if you stack all those up, potentially using this every turn is possible. But that's like a real specific team. Like you'd really have to love Acambe to bring credenza, possibly Coco, so that the Shadow Assassins can attack too. And spam them and hope that no one kills them. And then of course, you'd also have Lucama to help out him. Maybe some other I guess Marcel would be a good choice because she can give them move 2, as well as hit enemies with magic defense downs with the Shadow Assassins. And magic damage, do more damage. So the damage that you'll be able to do can really add up, but is it really worth all this trouble when you can just bring Camelot and then who else? Homa, Espianana. It's a lot of work, and while it's possible to really work out some weird setups to kind of abuse it, but there's so many catches to actually trying to do that. Is why people tend not to do that. But he still has some unique tools that I would like to mess around with. And while his rank 13 skill will be useful for him, especially for the boost damage, it's more of a fix a flaw type of skill rather than something like Hasna or Homa, which tries to give them a big power boost. Has Hasna having her extra turn, and Homa just giving a big boost to her bird's damage. Well, thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, thank you again, and have a great day.